because, as a journalist, my whole idea is to do a critical analysis of things. And Bashir said, I'm going to go towards a critical analysis of this book because you have been quite critical in this book about a lot of things. So I think that gives me scope and a permission to be critical. You start with the book saying that, and I quote, ambiguity surrounds the enduring nature of Kashmir's political rhetoric, which often bears little relation to ground realities. Concerns persist about unrealistic political promises, continued manipulation by a small cadre of influential families, and a political discourse that privileges xenophobia, and I underline that word xenophobia, over substantive solutions to Kashmir's pressing challenges. Although the political landscape has shifted with the transition of Union territory status and the introduction of new governance structures, uncertainty, insecurity, and fear continue to define the situation, while the political rhetoric largely remains unchanged. So, if I ask you, what you say is that the fear we have seen pre-abrogation Article 370, the political uncertainty, Kashmir dwindled with 370. Are you trying to say that after 370 there is no political clarity still in Kashmir and still there is a lot of political insecurity and still political ambivalence? Because ambivalence is the nature of Kashmir, we cannot take it away from it.
Of course, there is ambiguity. Of course, there are elements of insecurity. Of course, there are unanswered questions. See, you have many problems. So you can't just prescribe one quick solution to all the problems. This is not only a political the question of political uncertainty, the question of political problem. This is also a humanitarian issue. This is also about winning hearts and minds of the people. I have been articulating it since long. No amount of development, investment, or employment will help you in resolving the unanswered questions if you don't actually try sincerely and seriously in winning over the hearts and minds.
But what are those questions, is what I'm asking. What are the questions you are implying
Every single person has a question. Question about himself, question about his behavior, question about his surroundings, question about his politics, question about his environment, whatever. So you need to provide answer to those questions. You have little small angels team here. They have a lot of questions. You need to answer them, and that is why now you need to educate them. You need classrooms for them. You need practicals for them. You need theories for them.
But haven't abrogation of Article 370 given education stability in Kashmir? Because before Article 370 abrogation, most of the students would either be stuck with hartals or with stone buildings, and we had seen disturbed academic calendars going. But since Article of 370, and many of them would agree with me, that they have at least had regular schools to go to.
Not many of them, all of them will agree. All of them will agree that the law and order situation has improved a lot. It has improved a lot. There are almost no incidents of violence, stone pelting. It has actually vanished. There is nothing like that. But the question is the improvement in law and order alone the remedy to all of my questions? That's my
And who brings the overall, in your opinion, what should be the different thing happening except from law and order? When we look at the political, discourse, separatism is out. You don't have separatism being preached far and wide the way the separatists used to preach. You don't have that kind of things happening in schools anymore. So when we talk about the political discourse, where do you think this, there is a gap between people and the politicians of Kashmir?
that gap persists, that gap exists, that is something which is very, very unique with Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, I mean. So that gap has never been bridged. That is actually, in socialist terminology, that is actually the class war. So
But that's an all India.
one of the fundamental problems.
But that's an all India thing because you have class wars.
It is not. It is not. It is not. After 5 years, you have the power, you have the authority to change the ruler. That is something different whether you are willing to change or not.
Okay.
But in Kashmir, you don't have options.
But I guess that
You don't have options. You are just now moving from one elite family to another elite family.
But I would argue otherwise. I have a very young leader sitting in front of me, Tausif Raina, who contested elections, has been an MC. He might not have, but then that's the choice of the people. It's not that you have to get somebody and you can install somebody.
बहुत कोशिश की थी तौसीफ ने
जीता नहीं।
सच्चाई इस लोगों के सामने रखी।
अब लोगों ने जीता नहीं, जा रही है. But that's the change I'm talking about. See, change is a very slow process because overnight changes are always unstable. But I want to ask you something which you have been a bit critical about past of Kashmir as well, where you're right, and I quote, the distinction between successive, and I underline, regimes is marked. Earlier administration extended false hopes and unfulfilled promises, while the right-wing Bharatiya Janata Party administration cultivated an environment of hopelessness, disappointment, and discord. My first question to you is, regimes are something which are basically, deployed over people, something we see in Pakistan, like Field Marshal Raja Muneeb. How do you see that the elected governments of India, which are voted by millions of people, and popular governments, should be attributed as regimes in the center, whether it is the right-wing BJP or the centrist government of the left government?
No, a regime is not something which you can attribute Pakistan politics alone. Literally, meaning of regime is not that hollow. My point is that we are actually vacillating between the extreme narratives. Earlier we had the separatist narrative, extreme separatist narrative, where the moderate, rational, and legitimate voices were choked. And now we have a state narrative where I have little choice to disagree. And that's my honest observation.
Coming back to again quoting you, I quote again, the situation in Jammu and Kashmir remains fiercely contested, with sharply divergent accounts of how the abrogation of Article 370 has affected residents and governance. Some observers perceive that bureaucratic officials predict, particularly, and underline these, Indian Administrative IAS and Indian Police Service IPS officers construed the abrogation not simply as a political decision by the central government to integrate Jammu and Kashmir, but as a warrant to suspend the civil liberties and fundamental rights of Kashmiris. Do you think the IAS and IPS officers in Jammu and Kashmir or the security agencies basically looked at curbing the rights or the fundamental rights and civil liberties of Kashmiris to restore it?
No, when you go through the chapter, at the end of this chapter, I had very honestly articulated that the local officers are more responsible for the disconnect which we are witnessing in Kashmir between the administration and the people of Kashmir. Because locals sometimes try to be more loyal than the king, and in the process they have been actually doing everything against their own people to prove their loyalty to the hierarchy.
But then, okay, so then I will come to the subsequent chapter where you say the strategic deployment of non-local IPS and IAS officers to key leadership positions significantly contributes to political and administrative disenfranchisement among the indigenous population. I have two questions here. My question number one is, do we have enough IAS and IPS officers present in the state? The number is enough for them to take over the administrative circles of the state by their own, where you don't need the local, non-local officers. Followed by a question saying that when we talk about national integration, we talk about integrating Kashmir, why is it that people from the administrative services or the police services, whether they are from Kashmir or they are from Manipur or they are from Ahmed Kar or anywhere, are free to move around across the country and serve as one India?
See, the fundamental question is, when you have done something very, very monumental by abrogating Article 370 and 35 alpha, this issue has been very, very sensitive and very, very close to the conscience of, collective conscience of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, whether immaterial, whether this Article 370 was just a numerical figure in the statute book, because it was shallowed and hollowed out consistently since last many, many decades, and there was nothing concrete, nothing solid left behind. But still, emotions, sentiments attached to it actually demand that after the abrogation of Article 370, the agents of transformation should be the locals. If you actually want to transform the society, if you actually want that to change the mindset, if you actually want to give some kind of relief to the people, the agent should be the locals. That is my central theme. If there's a perception, and it is not mine only, there are many, many people who share this perception that local officers had been sidelined. And look who, those who contributed enormously in actually containing and curbing the terrorism in Kashmir since 90s. So the issue is that the impression should be that we are among the equals. You should be having a mix of the people.
But we had we had Sarish as
No, I'm
well at
talking
DC
about the key
Baramulla.
positions.
Yeah, DC is a key position, I believe, isn't it? I mean, don't you consider Sarish as DC Baramulla as a key position? Sarish Assad was DC Baramulla during that time. Don't you? Abid Shah was DC Srinagar at that time. I remember SSP Imtiaz being SSP security at that time. Were there not local people who were in the key positions?
No, you can't say that. I am not saying that locals were not there. I am saying that the perception is that the bureaucracy is dominated by the non-locals. That perception is not something which is hidden. That actually formed a narrative which was peddled. This is not my observation. I am saying that there are people, and even those people who are being seen very, very close to the BJP government at center, they have been articulating that we are being ruled by the non-locals. Altaf Bukhari and Sajjad Lone, sometimes they went far ahead of Mahbooba Mufti and Umar Abdullah in articulating this kind of narrative. That is what I...
But Bashir sir, I will tell you the same thing. This was the same narrative when center was, when separatists were in Kashmir, they would say that, we are being governed by non-locals from New Delhi. New Delhi is a non-local, illegitimate.
I am talking about the perception.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. So when we talk about changing perceptions, do you think now we are at a stage where this young generation today understands the value of being an IAS and an IPS officer to serve their own state? Do you think that perception in the younger minds have changed? And that's an argument I'm trying to.
I wish it changed.
Do you think that the younger generation will be more serious towards going towards
I agree.
own administrative
I wish and
services?
hope. I wish and hope.
Thank you, Bashir sir. It's been a pleasure to be with you.